Truffles that taste like nuts? These are absolutely fascinating. Pecan truffles, also known as tuber lyonii. These were kind of started to get attention in the 80s, and people started finding them in pecan orchards. And I can't really tell you how to hunt these. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that in the future, but I can definitely tell you how to enjoy them. Slice them raw and put them on things. And that is basically all you need to know. Or try to capture their aroma somehow. But you can see these look just like regular truffles. These are in the white truffle family, so different from black truffles. Here's what we're going to go over. A little background, 2 different ways to make gnocchi, ice cream, fat and sugar infusions, and a taste test. So I didn't pick these. These are from my friends at Truffle Dog Company. Big thanks for sending these over to me on short notice. They came wrapped very nicely. I love it when they're all vacuum sealed and individually wrapped in little pieces of paper towel. You can see that these are smooth on the outside and kind of this light brown color. And the smell, what you can't see here is the smell, which is crazy intense. So I've actually had these from Minnesota. Someone picked these and gave them to me, and if they're not ripe, they're not going to smell like anything. So those are from Minnesota, and they'll actually grow protruding out of the ground, so people can find them just by kind of like accidentally kicking them around the roots of oak trees was where those were found in Minnesota. But as you can see, pretty small in comparison to like the big black Paragould truffles people will sell. When I'm going to store them, I like to wrap them back up in their little pieces of paper towel, and I'll put them into the vacuum bag. You want to keep these cold, but these can actually last for a couple weeks in the fridge. Their aroma will start to diminish. Keep them in an airtight container. I like a glass jar. Okay, pecan truffle gnocchi. One of the simplest ways to have these, and this was probably my favorite, just take a little bit of cream. I have a little pesto made from pecans and Parmesan and a tiny bit of garlic, just as a nod to the truffles growing with pecan trees. And you can see all we're doing is heating it up. We're going to adjust the flavor with a little tiny pinch of salt. And that heat is off so it doesn't cook the cheese. Just put those into a little bowl. Put a bunch of truffle slices on top. That is it. It's so simple. You don't want to get too complicated with these things. This is another way that you can make it. A chef from Milan showed me this one. Take some nuts that are not toasted, grind them up, and cook them in some butter. Add a little splash of wine, and then we'll add a little bit of cream. So very similar, just a tiny bit different. Cook that until it's thick. It's going to get very thick from the ground up nuts. So if you need, add a little splash of pasta water and make sure that that sauce is nice and juicy. Put them into a bowl. For this one, I added a little bit of prosciutto, and the prosciutto is great too, just little raw pieces of prosciutto with a little piece of truffle. That was a great way to enjoy them, just small little bites. That's another great way to have them. Next, ice cream. So ice cream is not cooked. Well, the truffle is not cooked. So this is a fantastic, really trusty way to have just about any kind of truffle. We're going to cook our ice cream base. We're going to add some brown sugar. I'm going to add cornstarch. That'll make it so you don't have to worry about curdling the egg. If you do want to use egg, and I have a recipe for this on my website, you can always puree it in a blender afterward if you curdle it. So cool that down. Put it into a bowl with ice water and just whisk it until it's like room temperature. And then we're just going to measure out some truffle. You only need about half an ounce of truffle to make, like, if you serve small scoops, you can get like 12 scoops or more out of a small batch of ice cream. So it's a really good way to stretch them. Put some extra truffle slices on top. That is a great way to have them too. Fat and sugar infusions. Truffle oil is something that we hear a lot about. Commercial truffle oil is what I call the Axe body spray of condiments. Take your truffle slices, put them in a jar, add some salt because you're going to eat those slices. Add a little bit of oil. You only need a few grams for about 4 ounces of oil. Maple syrup and honey is something that we don't hear about a lot either, and those are also great ways to enjoy the truffle, as I did with the Hungarian honey truffle here on French toast. Now let's try some. Let's try some pecan truffles. I've had pecan truffles before, but they weren't ripe and they didn't taste like anything. So big thanks to my friends at Truffle Dog Company, Alana, and everyone over there. You guys are great, and you pack truffles like absolute pros. All of them are individually wrapped. God, I can just smell it as soon as I take the top off. It is so interesting. There's so many different types of truffles. They all have different flavors. They're just absolutely fascinating. And they smell... The smell is like, and the smell changes as it gets exposed to the air and as it kind of sits. It's kind of like perfume. But the first thing that you smell is a nutty aroma, almost like a pecan kind of aroma. They're very small, like much smaller than you would get from a larger black truffle or a white truffle or something like that. But yeah, there's a nuttiness. That's the first thing that you're going to smell. And a kind of a grassiness like earth and soil. And then there's truffle aroma. The truffle aroma is in the background. They're not going to bonk you over the head like a big French black Perigord truffle will. And that's fine. That's just how they are. It's a strong aroma too. It's definitely powerful. Give one a little try. A little bit of salt. Yeah, there it gets really strong. Yeah, it's this nuttiness. It's a nuttiness almost in the same way that the Blue Ridge truffles have like a cheesy quality with a little bit of truffle aroma in the background. These have this intense, toasty, nutty aroma followed by a little bit of truffle. They're really cool. They're a little more brittle than other truffles I've worked with, but just a fascinating native truffle that if you are a mushroom hunter or a truffle lover, you absolutely have to try these. And Truffle Dog Company is the best company I've worked with regarding these truffles so far. So I definitely try to see if they are selling them first. There will be links to everything here I'm talking about, as well as the post on my website with more information and links to Truffle Dog Company in my website and the link in the video description.